Hi everybody, good to see you. Thanks, Patrice. So Kate, Donnelly, and I are here to talk about Killingly, the Killingly Energy Center that was recently approved by the Siting Council. I'm going to give a little bit of background, and Kate's going to talk about organizing going forward. NTE, Connecticut LCC, is an energy generator who has been before the Siting Council 3 times proposing this plant in Killingly. The first time started in 2016. Each of these approaches to Connecticut to build this power plant through the Siting Council was opposed by 4 groups who entered into the docket as legal interveners. That included on the state level, Sierra Club and Connecticut Fund for the Environment. On the local level, the Wyndham Land Trust and a local organizing group called Not Another Power Plant. The first 2 times NTE went before the Siting Council rejected the application, citing the fact that they didn't have an ISO New England certificate as proof that there wasn't need for this plant. This year they came back, and in Forward Capacity Auction 13 that ISO New England ran, they cleared this plant and gave them a certificate to operate. There was some issues with this auction that I just want you to know about, and that was it did not include offshore wind that the states were planning to procure in the regular auction. That was because the way the auction is set up is to look at the generation happening in the states, and all that offshore wind is in federal water. There was a small amount of wind that got allowed into the secondary reserve auction, but that was really a big flaw in this auction. And so throughout the docket, we talked about the fact that it cleared with offshore wind in large part not included in the auction. We also brought in some independent analysts to talk about changing conditions in New England and why we don't really need this plant at all. Those arguments were not, well, I'm sure they were taken into account, but they chose to go in a different direction and approve the plant on June 6th. On that same day, FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, sent a letter to ISO New England asking for more information as to the price that Killingly cleared on. So there were some questions from FERC about the plant as well. Sierra Club, CFE, and Not Another Power Plant filed a motion to reconsider, which was taken up on July 18th and declined. So the plant has now been approved by the Siting Council. There are some steps along the way before it gets constructed. Not Another Power Plant has filed an appeal to Superior Court. We don't have a date on that yet, but of course we'll be letting people know when that happens. There are 2 outstanding permits that need to be issued for this plant. One is for the pipeline that will run from the plant to the Algonquin line. It's about a 2-mile spur that will go through Audubon Society land, will go through the Wyndham Land Trust, will go under the Quinnebog River. And secondly, they also need, and that needs to be issued by DEEP. DEEP also needs to issue a permit for the water that the plant will use, and it's expected to pull from the local water supply a vast amount of water. So Not Another Power Plant will be arguing in Superior Court about the fact that the Siting Council approved without these last 2 really important permits being approved. So those are kind of the steps along the way. And then the last one is that FERC still has not certified the auction results. Whether there's a real chance at any one of these junctures to stop the plant, we don't know what the odds are, but we are certainly trying. And I thank you all. There are so many people here who have engaged in some way or another in reaching out to the governor's office, in reaching out to your legislators, in writing to DEEP. You are a really powerful advocacy force because of your technical knowledge and because of the reach you have in your own community. So I really appreciate the work you have done already, and Kate's going to talk about what's coming up. And I know there are some other issues around this that we could get into a long conversation about, and they're really important. But I think we want to focus on strategy right now. Those issues include, like, what are the alternatives to this? What could we be doing differently? There are things like, why are we, what are all the things we're doing with fossil fuels, and why do we continue doing them? And then how are we helping folks who do fossil fuel jobs have a just transition to clean energy jobs? Really important issues that I want to acknowledge are important, but right now we want to focus on the strategy. And so I'll hand it over to Kate.
Thanks, Sam. How many people know where Killingly is? Yeah, pretty much of you. It's basically way up in the northeastern part of the state, the Rhode Island border. Rhode Island, where they wanted to put the Burrillville plant, is just 10 miles away from where this plant is going to go. The Burrillville plant in Rhode Island was turned down because there wasn't a need for the energy. So this is a spot in Killingly that has a lot of power lines and is on Alexander Lake, which is a absolutely beautiful, beautiful lake in northeastern Connecticut. Not another power plant happens to be the Lake Association, they're the people doing the appeal. The people who live on the lake are those people doing the appeal. And they need money because it's going to cost about $100,000 and they've got about 20. So if anybody or any organization wants to contribute, that would be really helpful to them. And it's important for them to know that they have statewide support. It's not an accident that the last power plant that just went up in Bridgeport and Killingly are 2 of the 25 distressed communities in the state of Connecticut. I don't know how many of you know, but every year it's published the 25 distressed communities in Connecticut. And Killingly is on that list and Bridgeport's on that list. So there are poor towns that need a lot of money. And they have been offered money by the company building it. We just found out, though, and I'll try not to get into too many details, but we just found out that, in fact, they're giving the town $20 million over the course of 20 years. Is that right? And that money is in lieu of property taxes. So it's not like they're giving them money. They're not paying property taxes. So it's just an educational piece that has to happen. And the people in Burrillville have been coming to our meetings in Killingly and have been very helpful in terms of strategies. And one of the strategies they utilized was that it was 76 cents a day to each person in the town that they were going to receive as a result of this power plant coming into their town. So the amount of money is really minimal, but to a distressed community who can't pass their school budgets, it seems like a lot of money. So that's part of the picture. But I think that there's a great group of people that have come together to fight this. In 2016, it was a huge movement. There were a lot of people on the streets at demonstrations, people writing letters. There were several different people participating in as organizations fighting it. May Flexer, who is our state senator there, has been miraculous in her opposition to this plant, as well as some of the other people, Pat Boyd, who's from the neighboring community. So there has been a huge movement. But this re-entry into it sort of snuck up on everybody because it was not expected to pass the Siting Council. A lot of people testified. Many people came out that night. There was a demonstration in front of it. People testified to the Siting Council. People honestly did not expect that it would be approved. So when it was approved, we quickly called together people, and the Sierra Club and other people in the state have really taken on the statewide coordination of this, but the local people are there in opposition to this plant. And the Audubon Society, where the pipeline has to go through, we're reaching out to them to try to get their help in this. There's just a lot of people working together. I don't have to talk about all that, but so the pressure's on. We're going before the town council at every town council meeting because they really dropped the ball. They basically approved it because of the money. It's we're trying to get a lot of people running for that town council to try to get other people there. But we're trying to bring the word to Killingly, if, make sure that it's monitored properly. There's so many problems with this plant, with the low smokestack, with it will increase Connecticut's annual greenhouse emissions by 5%. By 5%. To me, this is the most important thing we can do. You heard me before talk about all the stuff we're doing in our town with solar and renewables and energy efficiency. To me, this is the very most important thing that we have to do, because if we don't, then we're going to just have to work that much harder to change things. And this is as I said, it's a community that we have in Windham County the highest asthma rate in the state, and Connecticut has the highest asthma rate in New England. So this is just going to devastate the health of the people in that area. Not to mention all the effects that we're already feeling from climate change. You drive through the towns up there, and trees are down because of the drought and the gypsy moths, and we're just losing so many trees. But at the same time, we have so many solar farms going up. It's incredible, like town after town after town have these huge solar installations. So, we're getting the shit dropped on us, with the smokestacks and the, methane, the carbon, it's all like hitting us. But at the same time, we're providing so much solar for the state of Connecticut. And that solar that we have, and Bernie helped me figure out the figures, we have 856 gigawatts of solar currently operational in the state of Connecticut. That's huge, but none of that solar is counted in what we have, because it's in what the ISO finds available to us, because it's not dispatchable. So there's just, as Sam said, there's a lot of stuff going on here. So basically, what we would really like to do is to get people from your energy task forces in your towns, if you can get your town councils or selectmen or whoever to write and say that we should not build this plant, it would be absolutely essential to make that happen. Lamont is feeling it. He started out saying there's nothing we can do. Now he's saying, oh, we're look into it, which, my crazy brain thinks is optimistic, because he's talking about looking into it instead of nothing to do about it. Let's hope that he's feeling the pressure. He really doesn't know what he's doing in terms of energy, in my opinion. So I think that we need to educate him, and I think getting those letters written to him. I call his office a lot. They say, well, the governor has no control over this, is what they say. But I think that they count those calls, and they count the letters, and they count the emails. So it's absolutely essential to get that out, and it's essential that it's a statewide problem, not just a local problem. So we really encourage you to do that. I have flyers in my bag. I'll pass them out. There's talking points. We have also a little handout. We've been doing a vigil. People from the Sierra Club have initiated a vigil every Friday morning at the governor's residence from 8 to 10 a.m. And every Friday 8 to 10 a.m. And then we do out in Killingly on Saturday mornings from 11 till noon. We have an ongoing picket. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on out there. Every day more people call and say they want to be on a mailing list and they want to do things. People are very activated in the Killingly area, but we need that support from across the state. So if anybody has any ideas of things they want to do, we've talked about a lot of different strategies, including, some that might not be legal. So, we'll keep you posted on that, because if it comes to that, the people are very committed to that. They're already talking about, they said this coming week they're going to start take down trees. The company, they're moving forward like it's happening. So we're trying to get to them. And our friend Katie Dykes in Deep is, she's a big proponent of gas. She has been for a long time. And I think it's essential, even though we have a better chance, I believe, with Lamont, it's essential to continue to put the pressure on her, because she needs to hear it. She needs to hear from us. She's assumed a position of authority, and she needs to hear from the people of the state that it's not what we want. Katie Dykes, Deep Commissioner Katie Dykes. And the flyers, I'll pass them out, has the information of where to contact them. But if you can get your legislators on board, May Flexer and Pat Boyd and a lot of people have put out a letter to Lamont. How was it, like 30 legislators? saying that they're opposed to it and they want the plant to be shut down. So I think, or not built. So I think, you know, we're on a roll. So if you can get your legislators to do the same, add their names to that, cry out against it, you know, we just have to shake, you know, make it happen. We stopped nuclear power in the 70s, so we can do this.